To apply a patch using chain stitch, I recommend to spend a few minutes doing a basting stitch first. You can see how to do this in my video for straight stitch. To begin, cut your thread around 60 centimeters and thread your needle single strand. Tie a knot at the longer end and leave the other doubled over about 2/3 of the way. For my starting stitch, I like to go between the layers so that you can't see it, but you can also just flip your garment and start on the back. Starting with a knot, push the needle through the fabric just a little bit, pull through all the way to the knot, then push over the exact same spot, again just a little bit through the fabric, pull, and before you close it off, push the needle through that little loop that you've created and pull tight. I make a habit of doing 2, sometimes 3 knots every time I'm hand stitching because extra security is never a bad thing. It's the worst when you're wearing something and the thread unravels, so 2 knots is really worth it. Make sure everything is nice and flat and then push the needle through the edge of the fabric where you want your stitch to start. I want a little bit of a border around the edge of mine, so it's a little bit in. Okay, so now when you're starting, you want to put the needle back through just next to where the thread comes out. You don't want to put it through the same hole because then the thread will actually just come back again. So a point like a millimeter next to it. And then I push through both layers and then back up through layers, both layers around 1/2 centimeter, wrap the thread around the edge. I'll show you that again. That was really fast. But in the direction that you're sewing, you then want to pull the thread and then kind of just like shimmy it a little bit. Okay, so we go back to just next to where that last stitch was, and then down through both layers, up through both layers, get that thread, wrap it around the needle, and then pull in the direction that you're stitching. Sometimes if it's a bit warped, I'll pull it towards me and then away in the direction that I'm sewing. And let's just repeat that motion. So going back to the end of the last stitch, push through both layers, up through both layers, pull the thread around and pull through. And then once you've got the hang of this, you can get into a flow state and just go around the entire edge of your patch. It's really satisfying once you get into it. As you keep sewing, you pull that loose end on the needle so you can use more of the thread. But once it gets a little bit short, like around 10 centimeters, and the thread is like around 15 centimeters or less left, stop and push the needle through both fabrics until you're at the back, and do those same 2 knots that we did at the start to finish that thread, cut some new one and rethread. When you leave it shorter, it just becomes really difficult to tie off at the end. Repeat the process until your entire patch is done, and then come back for more tutorials.